Well, welcome. My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. And we're going to start today, like we always do, with balance. And for anybody who just signed in on Zoom, you're going to need some blocks, maybe a strap or a towel. But to start, all you need today, you don't have to have a block. How's that? Put smiles on your faces. Okay, well, come to Tadasana and make sure that your feet are hip width apart. Hip width is being able to put two fists between your arches. And then get your second toe pointed roughly straight ahead or the outside of your foot. So you might feel like you're a little bit pigeon-toed, but that's okay. That's the way that your femurs typically will set into your pelvis. From here, lift your chest high. You can gaze at the horizon. Isometrically drag your feet toward each other and feel all of your muscles grab and hold. And then take your upper inner thighs, rotate them towards the back, and then tuck your tailbone under. That tilts your pelvis back, giving your spine that nice little reverse curve. Coming back to your chest, lift the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Tuck your chin in just a bit. Inhale, bring your shoulders up towards your ears. Roll them towards the back, and then just let them sink down. Notice if your palms come forward or if they end up staying flat on your hips. That really is not that important, but just observe. And focus on your breathing. You can allow your eyes to close. And just let those muscles relax. Maintain this posture. And on your next inhale, open your eyes. And bring your weight into your left foot. Come up onto your right toes. And then find a place on the floor or on the wall beyond you that's not moving. And on an inhale, lift your knee up, right knee up. Like a dancer or a drum major. It helps if you spread your toes wide. It's a little late to be telling you, but you can always make an adjustment. And then on an inhale of your choice, bring your right knee up to the right, still roughly parallel to the floor. And if you fall out of this, that's fine. This is practice. And this is not easy for anybody. And then on an exhale, return the foot to the floor, step it out. Notice where the stress was in your legs. Okay, back to Tadasana. Spread your toes wide and place them down. Bring your weight into your right foot rather. Bend the left knee. Raise that up. Be conscious of your breath. try to keep your hips level. And notice any of the micro changes that you make to stay vertical. If your brain ends up sending messages down saying, oh, throw your arm out to the right, or throw your arm out to the left, the brain is too slow to do that. So your fascia is doing that for you. And then on an inhale, bring that knee out to the left. And again, observe where you're feeling this in your ankle or your leg, maybe in your thigh. And on your next exhale, release. Step that out. Come back to Tadasana. This time, I'm just going to go into tree. Pretty simple. Yeah. So on an inhale, lift that right knee up and bring your soul into your calf or your thigh, or even keeping your toes on the floor. Bringing that foot up all the way to your pubic bone is not any better than anybody else keeping their foot on the floor. It's just practice. If you'd like to intensify this, you can let your roots grow, or your branches grow, bringing your arms up overhead. That makes it more challenging because your center of gravity is more concentrated. And then release and step that out. Back to Tadasana. And practice getting into Tadasana the same way every time. So all it is an inhale, get your feet set up, and then go automatically and make all those minor adjustments. And on an inhale, lift that left knee up and come into tree pose. This side may be different. The only thing that would be bad is if you have a foot that is right on the knee. Knee. You don't want that because your knee is not intended to bend at 90 degrees. It's a two-dimensional joint. And if you become stable, maybe you want to grow your branches. That's not necessary. And then release. Step that out. Okay, so I've stayed away from one of the poses that I particularly like. It's called dancer, or let's see. I can't remember the Sanskrit name. But anyway, come to Tadasana. Lift your toes and spread them wide. And then pretend that you're hitchhiking. Bring your right hand out with your thumb coming up, and then just move that hand back. So it's like facing the back of the room. Now, bring the weight into your left foot and bend your right knee a lot. And from there, maybe you can catch the inside of that right foot. You can go over to a wall, that's fine. And maybe lift that arm up. From here, begin to pull that knee towards the back of the room as you lift on your hand. We're not going to go much farther than this, but ultimately you'd end up being horizontal, and then release. Step that out. I always find doing little hula hoop moves helps my ankles and my hips, and my thighs. Okay, so now we have the other side. So lift your toes, put them down. Hitchhike in England. And then bring that left hand towards the back. Weight into your right foot. Bend that left knee. Now on your right leg, try to raise your kneecap. That will engage your quads. Maybe you can grab the inside of that leg. Or that foot. And know that every time you do this, it will be different. And every time you have to step out, your body is learning. So that's a good thing. You're stimulating your brain. You're creating more neurons and more connections. And thank heavens we don't have any more time, so step out. Sweating. It's challenging, absolutely. Okay, so begin class. We're going to start on the mat. And as I said, strap, may want a towel. Blocks always are helpful. You come into a seated position. Allow your eyes to close. Try to get your knees down below your hip points. Lift your chest high, crown your head up towards the ceiling, tucking in your chin. Your hands can be resting on your knees or on your lap, whatever is most comfortable for you. Allow your eyes to close and turn inside. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and exhale it out through your nose. Take another in through your nose, out through your nose, and let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Maybe you can feel this cool air rushing through your nostrils where it gets cleaned, moistened, and warmed up before it even starts going down the back of your throat to your lungs. Oxygen only makes up about 20% of the air that you breathe. And of that, you only absorb 5% of the total air, or a quarter of the oxygen. So our lungs are not very efficient. Feel how your lungs expand. Which parts of your lungs do you engage in breathing first? Is your breath deep and down into your belly? Or does your own natural breathing fill up your chest cavity, expanding your ribs, and even raising the top two ribs? Today, you may employ your breath to help you get into a better aspect of a pose or two. So try breathing into specific areas. For practice, breathe into your lower left kidney. It's down below where your lungs will ever get, but see if you can direct your breath to a specific location. And with practice, you can. Practice breathing up into the very top of your chest, right to your collarbones. You may be able to detect your ribs separating and raising up. Knowing your body better makes you a better steward, makes you more capable of taking care of it in the best way possible. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes. If you're on a block, carefully remove it, set it aside. Make sure you have a strap handy and bring your legs out to the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. Push your heels away. Maybe waving your feet, rotating your bones in your pelvis. And then come down onto your back. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling, and then onto the floor beyond your head, and stretch from your heels to your toes. maybe heels to your palms. And then your fingers to your toes. And then bend your right knee. Bring that right knee into your chest. Reach for it with your hands and draw it into your chest. Push that left heel away. This first pose is spinal twist. So if you have a strap, place the strap around the ball of your right foot and make a bind with your left hand. Make that a pretty short bind. Bring your right arm out to T, and on an exhale, roll onto your left side, coming into that spinal twist. And now, if you'd like, you can begin to straighten that right leg. The left leg stays, the left foot still staying at the front of the mat. But straighten out that right leg out towards the side wall. You're stretching that IT band. You can probably feel this right up to your pelvis. Might feel like your glute is being stretched. And part of your glutes are being stretched. So primarily, this is stretching that IT band. And with that engaged, maybe you want to take that right hand and feel your glutes, and then bring that hand down on the outside of your right leg and feel your IT band. Probably feels like a strap of iron. And when it's convenient for you, reach that right arm out and over again towards the side wall. Maybe you can gaze out over that right hand. Soften into this pose. That will allow the tension to be drawn into your fascia and stimulate that fascia. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your legs back to center. Release your bind. Set the strap aside. Draw that right knee back into your chest. And then add the left knee. Push your hips away and rock from left to right. And then lower your feet down to the mat and walk your feet all the way out to the front of your mat. Again, bring your arms up towards the ceiling and rotate them down onto the floor beyond your head. And just pause there for a moment. This next pose is banana on the left side. So the way I've been teaching it recently is to scooch your shoulders and head off to the left side of your mat. You don't have to go very far, but this is the top of the banana. It has a nice stretch. And then maybe walk your feet over to the left side of your mat. But make sure that you keep your sit bones and your sacrum on the mat. And if your right hip comes up, walk your feet back. What makes this a side bend is keeping your hips in the plane of the floor. If you bring up one hip, you make this into a twist, and it's not as effective. And if this is pretty strenuous right now, that's okay. It will get more so. You can grab onto the right wrist with your left hand and just push your left hand away, lengthening that right arm. Don't have to worry about pulling it off to the left. If you find discomfort in your abdomen because your organs are confined, just take a big, deep diaphragmatic breath. Use your diaphragm to move your organs outside your rib cage so that they can come back, find new, more comforting positions. If this is good for you and you'd like to stay here, that's fine. If you'd like to intensify this stretch, maybe lift that right foot up an inch or two and move that foot over the top of your left shin and set it back down so that your legs are straight, your arms are straight. And from above, you look like a banana. Breathe into wherever you feel this sensation greatest. Use your breath here to create more space in your chest on the right side, that side that's trying to expand. So try breathing into your armpit. Maybe you can feel your ribs lift and separate. Maybe you just feel your ribs expanding. That's all good. Recognizing the results of your own breath. It's a big challenge. Remember to soften these tissues that are being stretched. And if the pose becomes too easy, move your feet an extra half inch, or your arms an extra half inch. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, uncross your legs. Walk your feet back to center. Slowly, carefully scooch your shoulders and head back to center. And then using both hands together, helping each other return towards the front of your mat. Your arms may be really tender in that intense stretch. Bend your knees and walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. And when you're ready, draw one knee into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. And add the other. Maybe rock left to right, or make circles on the ceiling with your knees. Make sure that you're stretching your arms and your shoulders as your knees come forward. You go the opposite direction too. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, the next pose is going to start in a seated position. So if it's easier for you just to cross your ankles and rock frontwards and backwards, go ahead. If you'd rather come over onto your right side, you can do that too, using your left hand to push up. Okay, so this pose is swan. And it's easy to get into swan from here. If you have knee issues and you want to do swan on your back, you can just lie back and go into that. Or if you want to start by getting your right ankle or shin parallel to the front of the mat, or approximately to start, then roll over onto your right hip and bring your left knee back. Now you can stop right here at 90-90 if this works for you. I was shocked to see Priscilla earlier in the weekend doing this pose, 90-90. Whenever I see anybody doing it, it just hurts. But if you'd rather do a regular conventional swan, just come forward and take that left knee straight back. And walk that left knee towards the back of the mat as you lower your right hip down towards the mat. Now you can use a block underneath your right glute. And start by staying up high, because there are some options here that you can employ for yourself. If you have some tightness in your glutes on the outer side, your gluteus medius, all you have to do is move that knee about 2 inches to the right, maybe only an inch. But that will move where the tension is. Likewise, if you'd rather have your glute right at the center, stretched a little bit more, you can move your knee a couple inches to the left. But whatever is good for you is the best pose. And if you want to come forward, come down, walk your hands forward. You can come down all the way onto your chest or onto a block or a towel. And if there's a way to just relieve all of the weight so that you're not engaging any muscles of your arms and elbows or shoulders, but make sure that you don't have any pain in that right knee. And if there is sensation, you can always bring that right heel in closer to your body center line. And down closer to your hips. And again, if this becomes too easy for you, or you've been able to soften all those muscles, and you're up on a block, maybe just remove the block or change it to a different height. As your fascia becomes stimulated here, it's going to trigger your stem cells to come to that area and build new cells or lengthen existing cells. And that will give you more space, more length in your fascia, so that your muscles can move a little bit longer, giving you more flexibility and more mobility. Yin is one of the few practices that can actually turn back time so that your mobility improves to some prior time in your life. But don't expect to be a teenager soon. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your hands back next to your chest. Push the floor away, lifting your chest. Walk your hands back towards your hips. And when you can, release your right leg back to meet the left. Go ahead. Come into table. Do a few cat cows if that works for you. You can make big circles with your hips. Or you can curl your toes under and lift up and back into downward facing dog. Whatever is right for you today at this moment. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, lift up your right foot and step back onto that back wall. Really push that heel away. Don't let that hip rise up. And then on an exhale, bring that right foot up next to your right pinky finger. Coming into dragon. So for dragon, you can move your left knee back an inch or two. Doesn't have to be far in order to accentuate this. This pose works on your hip flexors. And with your hands on the mat and your arms straight, this is high flying dragon. And you can overstep your right knee, bringing that in front of your right toes. And that will bring a lot of tension to the back of your ankle and your calf. If you do a lot of walking or running, that is really a terrific use of this pose. Your right hip flexor is being flexed. That's your psoas. And your left hip flexor, your psoas, is being stretched straight. The ends of your psoas don't know the difference, but each leg is being stretched, and that means each end of your psoas is being stretched. Your right leg, the psoas, comes right over the front of your pelvis. That's where it bends. You can stay here if you'd like, or you can make a modification. You can bend your elbows and come down onto your elbows or onto a block. You can walk your right foot out to the side and get a little bit of your other hip flexors, your iliacus. You can stretch that. You can bend that right knee out to the side and let it drop towards the floor, towards the back of the room, the side into wing dragon. But do what your body asks you to do. And just breathe in and out through your nose. And if your muscles aren't relaxing, if they're not cooperating today, just back up. Choose something that's a little bit more acceptable. Begin to deepen your breath. Your next inhale, bring your hands back down to the mat. Walk your hands back towards your left knee. And when you can, release your right knee back. Coming into table. Do a little bit more cat-cow. And feel how your body is compensating in this counter pose. Your femurs are moving in your hip sockets. Your arms are moving in your shoulder sockets. Your spine is moving. The next time you come to center, pause. The next pose is an option of child's pose or maybe frog pose. But for child, you can bring your knees out to the edges of your mat, or you can expand your mat with the towel. Bring your big toes together, and then walk your hands back so that your hips come down on top of your heels. And from here, begin walking your hands forward, bringing your chest down towards the mat. Now it sounds so easy, but hips love to come back up as you come forward or lower your chest. That's okay. It takes years to develop the flexibility in order to be able to keep your hips even close to your heels. If you'd like to modify this to frog, you can gently move your feet out, away from each other, maybe parallel to your mat, the length the wrong sides of your mat. But be prepared, because that's a pretty big inward rotation on your hips. And that's a pose that is not often done. But it does make your hips a little bit more flexible. Breathe into wherever the sensations are greatest. And remember, if the pose becomes too difficult, back up. And if it's not challenging, or if it's just too easy, make it a little more challenging. Your edge changes throughout each pose. And it's always your option to make an adjustment. And to accept your muscles soften fairly easily is just as wise as trying to get a little bit more out of it. You're showing compassion to your own body. Begin to deepen your breath. Begin walking your hands back towards your hips. Lift your hips up. Coming back into table. Do a few more cat-cows. You may be able to feel that forward fold that child's pose is. Maybe you feel the hip opener more. And the next time you come to center, pause. This time lift your left foot up and back, stepping on that back wall, pushing that heel away. And then on an exhale, bring that left foot up next to your left pinky. Coming into dragon on the right, on the left. So you can walk that right knee back a little bit. And how far is up to you? Again, you can overstep or you can just keep that leg vertical. Maybe you want to bring that left arm behind that left ankle to keep it vertical. Find the version of the pose that is best for your body right now. Knowing that the next time you do this pose, it may be radically different. You may find that some of your thigh muscles are tight and this bothers them. Or you may find that your psoas is a little bit persnickety today. And you just want to change. Go ahead. Follow your breath. Lengthen your spine. If you'd like to stay here, be my guest. If you'd like to modify this to something a little bit different so that you can experience more, make the change. At this point, you know as much as I do, but experiment. And remember, you want to get your pelvis down close to the mat, or I'm sorry, toward the mat. And the mat is just a location. I've seen people who can actually get their pelvis on the mat in this pose. Breathe into wherever the sensations are greatest. And don't wait for me to give you permission to make a change or a modification or an intensification. Do what you need to do for your body. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your hands back down onto the mat. Straighten your arms, lifting your chest up. Walk your hands back towards your knee. And when you can, bring your left leg back to meet the right. And maybe make an extra wide table this time. More big cat cows. Notice how different this feels than the first table in cat cows you did. And the next time you come to center, pause. Next pose is swan on the left. So to get to swan from here, perhaps the easiest way is to lift that left knee up and back, foot back on that wall, and then on an exhale, bring that left knee behind the left wrist, and then that foot over towards the right side of your mat. Maybe the shin can come parallel to the front of the mat, but that's not important. That's never important. You can always go on to your back. You can walk that right leg back, dropping your hip all the way down to as close as you can go. And this is targeting your left glutes and your left hip socket. So you can reach back and see what is happening there on the outside, as you know what's happening on the inside. And whenever you're ready, you can walk your hands forward, bringing your chest down towards the mat. You can come down onto your elbows. Be conscious of your knee. You don't need to put any stress on that knee. When you come to the right point, right place for you, just pause there. Find the support you need. Maybe use your hands to support your head. Notice if your left glutes have released. If you're brave enough, maybe you can take your left hand back and just feel and see what the difference is. I've discovered after years of yoga and then teaching yoga that feeling my body on the outside improves my practice because I can get muscles to relax merely by touching, which allows those muscles permission to soften. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your hands back down next to your chest. Push the floor away, raising up your chest. Come back onto your left hip. And then swing your feet around towards the front of the mat. Push your heels towards the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. Rotate your feet. You should feel pretty good in your hip socket. And then the left leg and your glutes. And then come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Push your heels away. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling, and then lower them down onto the floor beyond your head, and stretch from your heels to your palms, and your toenails to your fingernails. And then just relax all those muscles. The next pose is going to be banana on the right side. So your hips cannot move. They are super glued to your mat. You can either start with your legs walking over to one side, to the right, or your shoulders and your head. Really depends on what you are most comfortable in. And then walk your feet or your shoulders over until you get a stretch. Doesn't have to be great. Now just breathe into that left side of your body. Your body might be more flexible and less tension filled right now. You can always grab onto that left wrist with your right hand and lengthen that left arm by pushing the right hand away. Now if your arms are lifted off of the mat, bobbing in the air, find a block so that you have something to rest on. If they're bobbing in the air, the muscles won't be able to soften because they have to work, where your arms could be in trouble. If you'd like a little more in this pose, a little more challenge, lift that left leg up an inch, place your left leg over the top of your right, and then lower it back down. There is your left hip and sacrum. If you have to walk your legs back, walk them back. Making this into a twist is not going to give you a body that is more mobile. This is the more challenging, the most challenging side bend I know of. Breathe into that left side body. Give your ribs a little bit more space in between. Those tiny intercostal muscles that tie your ribs together. Stretch just a little tiny bit. But you have 12 ribs and 11 spaces. So that's a lot of potential. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, uncross your legs, walk your feet back to center. Carefully scooch your shoulders and your head back to center. And then bring your hands working together to your front body. When you're ready, walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Draw one knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And then the other. Push your hips away and rock from left to right. And then retaining your left leg into your chest, release your right heel all the way down to the front of your mat and push that heel away. Grab your strap and place it over the ball of your foot, your left foot. Make a bind with your right hand. Take your left hand out to the side. And then on an exhale, bend over to the right. Maybe straightening that left leg. Make any adjustment that you might need in your bind. Your gaze can be back over towards your left hand. You're not stretching your IT band. Maybe it's not as pronounced on this side, or maybe it is. And then find softness. Find a way to rest that left leg is up in the air. So your muscles aren't begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Release your bind. Draw one knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Then add the other. Rock left to right. And then make some huge circles with your knees on the ceiling. And then go the opposite direction. Massaging your spine. And the next time you come to center, pause. Release one knee out to the front corner of your mat. And then release the other knee and foot out to the other corner of your mat. Bring your arms out to your side, to your sides. It can be straight out in T or next to your body or up overhead, whatever works for you. Rock your hips a little bit to find the right position for your sacrum on the mat. If you want to walk your shoulder blades underneath your chest, now would be a good time. Rock your head a little bit left to right. And then lift your head up 1 inch, tuck your chin, stretch long, and lower back down carefully. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose, and exhale it out through your nose. And another in through your nose, out through your nose, and take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers, into your toes, to your wrists, into your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a big squeeze. And rock from left to right. And the next time you come over on the right side, pause there in fetal pose for just a moment, using your right arm as a pillow, and scan your body for any residual tension or stress that might be hiding in the tissues, so that you can address them later this week. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away and rise up to a seated pose. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this afternoon. It really is nice practicing in a studio with other yogis. Take the compassion and empathy that you practice each time you step on the mat with you everywhere you go and share it with everyone you meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thanks.